11th, 2013, and this is the StephenBlakesley.com podcast. On today's podcast, we will talk to sick Nic Faas, who is second in the USAC CRA points heading into this weekend's doubleheader at Watsonville and Santa Maria. But first, a look at the racing results from over the weekend. On Friday night, the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East and West ran their 8th combination race at Iowa Speedway in series history in the Casey's 150. Utah's Michael Self scored the biggest win of his career, leading 83 laps and charging away from the field in a green-white checkered finish for the victory. Dylan Kwasniewski beat Iowa's Brett Moffitt to the stripe for second place as well. Friday night also saw the Ocean Sprints presented by Taco Bravo in action at John Prentice's Ocean Speedway Watsonville. Brandon Bug Kading became the second repeat winner in the 8 races held so far, taking a dominating 6-second win over 2012 Series champion Shane Golobic and Steven Tyner. Points leader Brad Furr overcame being down a cylinder and a 19th place starting position to come home in 4th and extend his series points lead. The inaugural David Tartar Memorial Race was held on Friday night at Chico's Silver Dollar Speedway. Outside pole sitter Sean the Shark Becker took the win ahead of Andy Forsberg, and Becker also won the $1,000 dash as well in an emotional night at Silver Dollar Speedway. Saturday, All-American Speedway went dark due to record 110-degree temperatures, but other tracks across California soldiered on. Ocean Sprints driver Kurt Nelson, who is second in the points, won the main event at Petaluma Speedway. Well, it was Andy Gregg defeating 2012 Ocean Sprints champion Shane Golobic for the 360 win at Placerville. The Pombo Sargent Classic for USAC and BCRA midgets went to Nick Chavello, and Matt Scott swept the NASCAR late model features on the pavement at Stockton 99 Speedway. David Mayhew continued his incredible start to the 2013 campaign at Kern County Raceway by storming to his 4th Citgo Lubricants late model win and 5th win overall at the Speedway. Mayhew had a dominating win ahead of Eric Richardson and Irwindale points leader Ryan Partridge. On Sunday, the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West Trail moved on to I-44 Speedway in Lebanon, Missouri. After a rain delay, action got underway. Michael Self overcame a spin that put him a lap down to get into the battle for the lead in the closing stages of the race. On lap 147, Self, Greg Pursley, and Cameron Haley went 3 wide into turn 3 with Pursley spinning. Self took the lead on the green-white checkered restart and never looked back for his 3rd K&N win in the course of just 15 days.
This is a big one for us. This is huge. 3 in a row. I honestly never thought back a year ago that this would be possible. I think we just got our first win a little less than a year ago. So this is really big. Getting this win on the short track just means so much to us because we've been trying. And for a long time, we thought this was our best program. And just to come and finally seal it, and to seal it in this specific car 206, which was the car that had the infamous run there at Daytona and has served me so well, led so many laps. To finally close one with this car is just such a relief, and it's so good for the team. The 24 and the 26, it was go time, and we had a chance there on the bottom. I mean, they were fighting each other hard, so I figured I'd get in and play and see if we could stick it to both of them there.
StephenBlakesley.com will have live Twitter updates from Ocean Speedway Watsonville on Friday night for the USAC CRA Sprint Cars. On Saturday, Kern County Raceway Park will host the return of the NASCAR Pro Late Models in a 100-lap contest along with NASCAR Spec Modifieds and NASCAR Mini Stocks. For Friday updates, follow us on the Twitter handle @StephenBlakesley, and for Saturday updates, follow Kern County Raceway on Facebook and Twitter. And we're back on the StephenBlakesley.com podcast, and we're talking to Nic Faas, who will race in the USAC CRA this weekend at Watsonville and Santa Maria. And Nic, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
So first off, we are previewing this weekend's doubleheader at Santa Maria and Watsonville, and you guys have had a great season so far. You've been very consistent. You find yourself second in the points despite only having one main event win. What are your expectations for this weekend?
I go there to win, just like every other weekend. Watsonville is a great track. I think we get up there 2 times this year, and I'm looking forward to that, and then Santa Maria the next day.
And it's kind of a unique situation at Watsonville because you guys go head-to-head with the USAC Western Classic guys, and it's kind of a different group of people than you're used to racing against. What is that whole experience like mixing up with those guys?
It keeps it interesting. You know, there's always more cars. Usually we get around 30 up there, and the only part is it gets a little hairy sometimes not knowing how people race, but you just kind of figure it out and go from there.
And if you look back at Watsonville over the years, how have you done there? It's kind of it's a tricky place because they got the tide that comes up and the track conditions evolve a little bit differently than other racetracks. Have you guys had any success out there? Tell us about your history at Watsonville.
I think I've ran there 4 times, and I think the best I've ran is 5th. So not too well, but hopefully this weekend we can capitalize on some things and that we've learned in the past and put it to good use.
So if you look at your 2013 season, and of course, I think there were a lot of high expectations on you guys over there in the Alexander cars, working with your teammate Damian Gardner, and you guys currently find yourselves 1st and 2nd in the points. What has that whole experience been like working with a guy as experienced and accomplished as the Demon?
It's good. It's interesting. You know, we both race for the same team and the same sponsors, but we're not so similar. We're pretty different, and we like different things. So it's always a fun atmosphere with all the guys. I want to thank Steve and Mark for giving me the opportunity, and Ken from Scott Sales for backing us, and Olivia Catering and Competition Suspensions Incorporated. Without those guys, we wouldn't be able to do it.
So it's kind of an interesting dynamic because you've been on the CRA now for I think 3 or 4 years full time, and Damian's just coming back to California. So I'm kind of wondering, so out of the two of you guys, who's the one that's given more advice when it comes to setting up a race car week in, week out? Who's the one providing the most advice to the other?
There isn't really much advice going back and forth. It's kind of he kind of takes care of his own car, and Steve and Alexander, kind of take care of my own car. So that's how it is right now.
You guys don't really share notes at all as far as setups go?
Not so much.
And you've spent a little bit of time back east like the Demon has and racing back there in Indiana, and a lot has been made about the quality of this CRA series in 2013. What are your thoughts on all of that? How tough is this series?
I think it's getting tougher, you know. Like you said, Damian's moved back, and Bud Kading's come back and run with us. And I think our competition's got a lot stiffer over the past 2 years than it has been in the past. I still don't think we get too much credit for our racing out here. But whenever the national guys come out west, we always give them some trouble. So at the end of the day, that's all you can really ask for.
We're on the phone with Nic Faas, who is 2nd in the USAC CRA points, heading into this weekend's doubleheader. And Nick, you come from kind of a good racing family, of course, and there's probably still some people out there that may not know your racing background. Can you share with the fans kind of your racing background coming up through the ranks of sprint car racing?
Yeah, I started out racing a quarter midget when I was 7 years old. I ran that for 7 years until I was 14. And then I took a 2-year break and had a couple dirt bikes that I just kind of messed around with. And then when I turned 16, I got a Ford Focus midget, and I ran that for 2 years. And then when I turned 18, I ran a full midget for Western Speed and ran a CRA sprint car. And for 2008, and I moved back to Indiana in 2009, ran that for a year, and then moved back home in 2010. I ran just like a limited schedule in 2010, only about 10 races or so, and then in 2011 I got the ride with Alexander in the 4 car, and I've ran for them ever since.
And you had a lot of success in the midget on the West Coast, and now you're running the sprint car stuff, and you don't really get in the midget all that often. From your point of view as a driver, what do you think of those 2 different types of cars, and which do you prefer?
I like both the cars equally. You know, I wish I ran a little bit more midget stuff, but our sprint car schedule doesn't really have that many breaks this year because we're racing USAC and then we're running that URA deal whenever we're open. So I think I'm going to be able to run a couple midget races this year, but I'd love to get back into more often. I ran one at Turkey Night last year for Josh Ford, and I ran fourth there, which is pretty good considering I haven't ran one of those for a couple of years. But to answer your question, I like both of them equally. They're both race cars. They're a lot different, but I enjoy both of them.
So you guys kind of took that shot going back east a couple of years ago, and then you came back to California. I'm wondering, what is your career outlook as far as motorsports? Do you have kind of a regular 9-to-5 job during the week, or is racing all you do? Tell the folks at home a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah, I just graduated college from Cal State Fullerton 2 weeks ago, so I'm currently looking for a job right now. But before I would just go to school and race on the weekends. So now it's real life. I got to go find a 9-to-5 job.
What did you major in? What degree did you get?
I majored in business finance.
So you'll be kind of wearing a suit and tie during the day, and then wearing the driver's suit at night, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully if I can find a job.
So it's kind of interesting now in Southern California. There's been kind of this revival of non-wing racing, and we kind of talked about that already with how tough the USAC CRA has gotten. But also now you're talking about this URA deal. How often are you guys running that series?
I think we've ran 3 races so far, and we missed 1 race. So if I had to guess, probably about once a month we race there, which is pretty cool. I mean, it gives another opportunity for all of us race teams and race drivers to race when we have an off weekend with USAC. So I wish more people would support it, though. Where the car counts are a little bit low, but still good competition out there.
And that URA series promoted by Scott Burns, it's kind of a throwback series. It's very stripped down. The rules are kind of stripped down. It's all kind of unlimited. Now, you guys have run both at Victorville and at Orange Show. Now, Orange Show, for a lot of the listeners, because a lot of our listeners are pavement people, and that track is now a dirt track for the sprint cars. What's it like racing on that place? That's kind of a tiny racetrack.
Yeah, it is really tiny. You know, Scott and everyone that's promoted the series really put their neck out, so to speak, trying to get stuff going. So I think it'll be better in time. It's just fairly new. They just got dirt on it, I want to say, a couple of months ago, and it was better this last time that we went from the very first time that we went there. So hopefully they'll just keep making improvements, and hopefully we get a race there.
And there's still a long way to go in this USAC CRA campaign. You guys are just closing in on the halfway point of this deal. I know that you guys probably came into the year with high expectations, and a lot of people had high expectations on your program. Are you still at all surprised that you guys are ahead of Mike Spencer at this point in the year? I mean, he's been so dominant in this series, and so far you guys have gotten the best of him pretty consistently.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised about that. He's had some bad luck this year, which seemed like the last couple of years he didn't have any bad luck at all. So I think that's the biggest reason why he's a little bit farther back, is he was leading one race at Paris and blew up, and this last race he blew up a motor in qualifying. So he kind of bit by the bad luck bug, which you know how that is in racing. So, but I think it's still a long season. You never know. You know, stuff happens, and just trying to approach every race the same.
And I think the last thing I would want to touch on is if you look forward in your schedule this year, it seems the way things worked out with the schedule that the Louis Vermeil Classic at Calistoga could be kind of a turning point to find out who's really going to be a contender for the points title this year. And that event has become a very important event for your series. What do you think about racing at Calistoga? I got to imagine that's one of your favorites.
Yeah, it is. I've only been there twice. We didn't go there in 2012 last year, but I went there my very first year racing sprint car in 2008. I went there in 2011 with Alexander's, and I love that place. I like the big tracks like that, and it's just an awesome fuel. You know, it's promoted great, it pays well, and the fans are always very excited to see us whenever we go out there.
Well, it's looking like it's going to be a good battle this year between Nic Faas, Damian Gardner, and Mike Spencer for the USAC CRA Championship, and they'll be duking it out this Friday at Ocean Speedway Watsonville. And Nick, we want to thank you for coming on our show.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for having me, man.
We want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of the StephenBlakesley.com podcast. And another thank you to Nic Faas for coming on to our show. And good luck to Nick and all the USAC competitors this weekend at Watsonville and Santa Maria. And a reminder for the best in short track racing news, you can follow us on our website, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you at the races.